There are now multiple known cases of New World screwworm in Texas, and Corpus Christi's water woes continue. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, and this is South Texas Midday. I'm Spencer Chiak. The city of Corpus Christi's Evangeline Groundwater project's path is now muddy after the San Patricio County Groundwater Conservation District voted against the emergency temporary permits required for drilling. The 3-2 vote against the motion to draft the emergency permits leaves the city with two options to attempt to move the project forward. The first path is working with the city of Sinton, and the second is through a contested case hearing. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has found that no significant impact will result from a potential land exchange with SpaceX and the Lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge. Texas Public Radio's Marianne Navarro has the details.
The proposal would give 712 acres of the refuge to SpaceX in exchange for 692 acres owned by the private space company. The agency says the proposed action would reduce land use conflicts. Community groups in the Rio Grande Valley argue it would lead to the destruction of the wildlife corridor. The finding of no impact was issued in a final environmental assessment for the plan. The 103,000-acre wildlife refuge spans 4 South Texas counties and is managed by Fish and Wildlife. I'm Marianne Navarro in San Antonio.
Federal and state officials are now taking an active and aggressive response to New World screwworm detections now that there are confirmed cases across South and West Texas. So far, at least 3 cows and a dog have tested positive. Quarantine zones have been established and sterile fly release operations are set to begin this week from Moore Air Base in Edinburgh. The strategy is now releasing millions of sterile flies to prevent reproduction. It's considered the primary tool for eradication. Texas Tech veterinary expert Chad Cross tells Texas Public Radio the stakes are high and vigilance is critical.
I think people need to keep their eyes open. That's what I have been telling people since we had suspicions that we had cases in the U.S. We are not keeping our eyes open. We can't be diligent in recognizing a potential threat and addressing it appropriately.
Texas is home to the nation's largest cattle industry, making a potential outbreak a serious economic threat. The most recent data says Texas ranks 3rd in the U.S. for the number of people living with Alzheimer's. Early detection of the disease is important, but how do you tell the difference between early warning signs of Alzheimer's and normal aging? In this latest installment of KERA's Vital Signs, KERA's Sam Baker talked with Dr. Diana Kerwin, a geriatric medicine physician with Texas Health Dallas.
There is some anticipated changes in your memory and brain function as you get older, but it should never be severe enough that it starts to impact your ability to do things you've always done.
Give me some examples of this.
It shouldn't start to impact your ability to pay your bills on time, take your medication, make appointments, get to your appointments, interact with friends and family, or it's very noticeable and visible to others, which is oftentimes who first notices memory loss in someone. It's often not the person themselves. I think in those cases, that's when you really want to start having the discussion with people around you if they've noticed things, and then definitely have the discussion with your doctor.
Immediately? Should you wait a while, see if it happens again?
I think as soon as you recognize that, this seems to be recurring and it seems to be causing difficulty for this person, either it's, causing them anxiety, it's causing them to not be able to do the activities that they want to do. They're having trouble getting to appointments or remembering, events that are coming up, things on the calendar, forgetting to take their medications. I think anytime you see those flags, that's when I would go, let's go talk to the doctor. And the first doctor you see is likely going to be your primary care doctor, and they may or may not be comfortable in what a full what we call memory evaluation or cognitive evaluation is. But they can start off with the basics of, is your blood pressure in good control? If you have diabetes, is your sugar in control? Because those things can affect memory too. Are there any medications there that could be affecting your memory? Is there anything in the blood work, like a thyroid level that might be off or a vitamin deficiency? And if they can't find anything, then they can move on to the more formal assessment, either referring you out to a specialist or they may be able to start to order some more specific tests that might help to determine if this is an early Alzheimer's process or not.
I know people are becoming more and more aware about Alzheimer's, early Alzheimer's, but I'm wondering if it's also at the same time maybe causing a bit of fear or paranoia when it's just clearly a sign of normal aging and you start thinking, oh my God, this may not be good.
No, that's true. And that's, I don't want anyone feeling overly anxious. I think there's always that fine line between being proactive with your health and not letting, symptoms that you're noticing cause you anxiety. And that's where it might be a good idea to speak with your doctor, so that it does allay that fear. I mean, I do think, although we definitely have the technology and our ability to diagnose Alzheimer's, and I think our awareness of it are much greater than it was 10 or 20 years ago, I think people have always been afraid of having something that affects their brain function as they get older. Before they would have called it dementia. Now we've become much more specific with our terms of a memory impairment or a dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. And so I think that although we've gotten further along with our accuracy of diagnosis, I think the fear of losing your independence or your abilities as you get older is always something that I think a lot of people have in the back of their mind that may cause anxiety.
Dr. Diana Kerwin is a geriatric medicine physician with Texas Health Dallas. The Trump administration is waiving federal environmental laws to speed up a border project in Big Bend National Park and Big Bend Ranch State Park. That's according to a preliminary federal notice on Monday. The waivers cover a more than 100-mile stretch of the border from the state park through the national park. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is planning a mix of vehicle barriers, surveillance tech, and patrol road upgrades across the parks. But the agency still insists it's not planning a 30-foot steel wall in the parks. CPB, however, is pursuing a steel border wall in the Big Bend region, from Hudspeth through Presidio counties. The agency says construction on the wall could start as soon as this summer. A Texas court has given Texas Tech University quarterback Brendan Soresby temporary permission to play in the 2026 football season. In May, the NCAA determined Soresby was ineligible after reports surfaced of the player engaging in sports gambling, a violation of NCAA rules. Soresby then filed a lawsuit saying the NCAA violated his contract by neglecting his mental health. KTTZ's Brad Burt has more on the injunction ruling.
Court documents showed Soresby made thousands of dollars of bets while playing at previous schools with a gambling disorder reacting to anxiety. After taking arguments from attorneys for Soresby and the NCAA in a hearing on June 1st, Tarrant County Judge Ken Curry found that Soresby's career would suffer a, quote, irreparable injury if he is not allowed to play this fall. Soresby will be allowed to practice with the team, but Judge Curry ruled he will not play the first 2 games of Tech's season. The judge also ordered Soresby to continue counseling for gambling and anxiety. This injunction does not settle Soresby's lawsuit against the NCAA. The NCAA responded to the ruling saying they are committed to supporting the mental health of student athletes, but will, quote, aggressively defend against actions that threaten the integrity of the game. I'm Brad Burt in Lubbock.
Finally, the San Antonio Spurs rallied to take Game 3 of the NBA Championship Series against the New York Knicks last night. Victor Wembanyama scored 32 of the Spurs' 115 points last night. Wembanyama says winning in New York meant overcoming one of the toughest crowds in basketball.
At home, it really feels like playing 6 against 5. And here it feels like playing 5 against 6, but it really shows what teams are made of.
Guard Stephon Castle says the Spurs are still down, but not out.
I mean, I feel like we still haven't really done anything. Obviously, we're still down 2-1, and we're looking forward to the next 48 minutes.
Game 4 is tomorrow night at 7:30 Central in New York. This has been South Texas Midday. I'm Spencer Chiak. Your community arts calendar and more is on its way next.